And it's amazing how he asked, because what did I ask earlier? Have you done your genealogy? Where's your name from?
Super confusing. Don't worry about it.
Well, look, we are up here and grateful for what we just covered, because a lot of that is going to help us. And before we just dive right into it, I want everybody to know we're going to cover some really fun things like the Titanic and Formula One. And so although it's a little bit in the afternoon and we're talking about AI and some of this dense material, Matt is the man. And it's been really neat because you think about someone that graduates many moons ago, joins this company, and you've been with them now almost 2 decades, right?
That's right.
What's that like? Because we're kind of similar age. I'm thinking, I didn't do that. Every 18 to 36 months, I'm out.
Yeah. I put on my hat and go out in the morning and come home with a cocktail waiting for me. It's very 60s existence. But yeah, I've been at J&J for over 16 years, which is pretty unique, but we'll get into it. But I have not done the same thing for 16 years.
He has not. He's held 10 positions. And lately, his most recent one, you've held for about 12 months now?
Yeah, about a little over a year.
I've got to fact check this, because when we list everything he's done in 12 months, you're going to say either WTF or holy smokes. So, and then you're at a clip rate right now, a new hire, one every, 3 weeks about?
About every 3 weeks or so, yeah.
Yeah, we were talking earlier because I've had the great fortune to get to know you better, and then Kate sharing what she's done in 3 years and her small team, and they're out there lean, and then here you are in 1 year. You're up to 16 reports now?
Yeah.
And so, of course, it's not comparing one against the others. It's just really neat to see how some organizations, though, are coming in, building out some champions, and then really building a framework around them, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's a little bit of a different approach, and it's new. None of the jobs on my team, mine included, existed a year ago. And so they're all new. I've gotten really good at writing job descriptions if everyone has questions about that. I'm a good interviewer. I've interviewed dozens and dozens of people, hopefully not from your organizations. But it's different because what we've built is really inside of the local marketing business, not as a center of excellence. And the way we've thought about it is really the scaffolding around our traditional marketing team, really built around it. And honestly, as I told you earlier, I'm actively trying to put myself out of a job. We are currently really doing this in a way to just integrate into how we do business. It is not digital. It is just how we're operating as Johnson & Johnson Consumer Health.
Excellent, yeah. So when we first connected, my process, especially with this, is always get to know the person behind the professional. So it's been really neat to get to know you and to see you're a constant student, right?
Yeah, I think you have to be. I mean, we're hearing today all the great things that are happening across different organizations, and that's why I like coming to these things. I told you in our discussion, the office is a bad place to learn your business and run your business, so you have to get outside. You have to see what's happening in financial services and in beverages and all sorts of different industries and where the innovation is, and this space just changes literally every day.
And then as you started to learn, I bet you amassed this amount of knowledge. And then what did you start to do with that knowledge?
It started very innocently. I just started sending hey, this is interesting. You should probably pay attention to it to my team, to 5, 6, 7 people. And then more people were like, I should probably know what's going on. And it turned into an actual newsletter, which has turned into work for me, which is kind of the not good part of it. But I send a bi-weekly newsletter for the last 6 years and really tried to distill down why people should care about what's happening in the industry and what you should do about it. And that's what I do now.
And if I understand, I appreciated the flow quite a bit, which is, here's a summary of the knowledge I shared, and then now here's my hot take.
Yeah,
Matt's hot takes.
I try to keep it 3 sentences because nobody has time to read anything. I delete most of the emails I get. I know you do too. So get in, get out. It needs to be a 2-minute read. Why do you need to care about it? And what's my perspective as a CPG marketer? Why do I need to care? Why should I invest in this? And people can take it or leave it, but I try to lead with honesty and authenticity around, this is what I think. And people email me and say, I don't agree with you. I'm like, good. Because that's okay. And it's not for everyone.
Yeah, and when I see how you've continued to study, and then when we were looking at, or first me, I was looking at your LinkedIn and seeing this career and thinking, how the heck does someone go from accounting and finance to then leading media and digital innovation for some of the biggest brands? That's really neat. You mind just kind of sharing that? Like, because it's kind of split 50-50 so far in the career, more or less.
So I spent about the first 6 or so years in finance at J&J. I joined J&J out of college. I was an accounting major. I'm a CPA. I have a license still, actually, because that test is hard, and I have to maintain it because that was a lot of work. But I did that for about 6 years. Quickly realized that wasn't for me. Went back to grad school here in New York at NYU and studied marketing, and then moved from, I was doing asset valuation for our pharma business, not marketing, and then moved into marketing Ben Gay as an associate brand manager, which couldn't be more different. And since I've been in marketing for about 10 years, have kind of oscillated between traditional marketing and digital marketing. My last job, I was leading marketing for our baby franchise, which is about as traditional as it gets. And now I am building our digital capabilities across our skin health business. So pretty diverse.
Well, great. And we didn't plan this yet. I'm glad you said building, because as you were describing a lot of what you're doing, and not just you, Johnson & Johnson, and the ecosystem that they've helped create so that way you can come in there and now create this. The analogy that was in my head, because a month ago, I had a transformative experience, which was going to Formula One and experiencing what that engineering is. And again, in my seat, seeing so many brands talk about being data-driven or innovating, and sometimes you want to just call them out because they're not. And really what I saw was what they're trying to do sometimes is take maybe, let's be kind of Ford, but a Ford Mustang and putting it on the track, slapping a turbo on it, slapping different tires, and then saying, now we have a Formula One car. What you are doing and Johnson & Johnson is doing is built a specific team and are building a product from the ground up, and then re-engineering the organization to support that, right?
Yeah, that's it. It really started with identifying what are the needs, what do we need to get better at? Precision marketing, content creation, retail media, whatever the case may be, all the different verticals, search that, we weren't industry leading in, or we were doing okay, but like, what are the places where we need to really leapfrog and grow? And then we've gone out and built those capabilities, either in-house or finding folks on the outside to come in, fit for purpose. Who are the different folks we need? What are the different skill sets we need? And then really, like I said earlier, injecting that into our local teams. And then now the work has been, okay, how do we work together? How are we working side by side with our brand teams, with our agencies, the ways of working? Do we have the right structures? Do we have the right, partners in place, the right technology, the right capabilities built? And that's really what it's the whole, my last year or so has been all about, which is, every day is a new challenge. It's pushing a rock uphill sometimes, but it's super rewarding to see all the progress we've made and really, just continuing on.
Great. Well, I want to shine the light on you even a little bit more. I hope everyone's picking this up. You're doing night classes at NYU.
I was.
Yes. And you've been now interviewing and scaling and building. We made reference of Formula One. And now here comes the Titanic reference, which is because that's what you're kind of doing, is you're trying to turn a Titanic. The organization is 130 years old, about?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
Been around.
Ancient. I don't know anyone that old.
Yeah.
And yet now you came in, you developed this Formula One vehicle that's just whipping around, changing, and really showing, here's the speed we can do. And really, you're just getting started.
Yeah.
Right? And so I liked how earlier you said you're building the scaffolding around the marketing team and trying to work yourself out of the job. Can we just go into that a little bit more?
Sure. I mean, you don't stick around and grow as much as we have and have the brands we have without having a ton of amazing people, products. I mean, you can't ignore what got us here. And we have amazing skills, talent, like amazing colleagues that I work with. So it's not a matter of like, let's throw it out and start over, but it's really, how do we make this work even better? How do we make this an and? It's not an or. And I think that's the big thing with digital and marketing is it's both. You need the traditional, you need the digital capabilities. And what we've been doing is really, we start with what's our problem, what's our business objective. And a couple of the folks have mentioned that here today, which was exciting to hear. And it's not discovering America or anything, but that's a great way to start with innovation, is really grounding yourself in the foundational problems you're trying to solve, and then really working side by side and having completely aligned goals. I tell my team, we do not have digital experience goals. Don't exist. I'm the guy who approves your expense reports and stuff. But like you are part of the Neutrogena team. You are part of the Aveeno team. We have Neutrogena goals. We have, Johnson's Baby goals. Full stop. And then from there, what we've seen is we've really embedded ourselves as part of just the local teams. The really exciting part is we're hearing things and questions and ways of working that we would have never heard a year ago. We're hearing our traditional teams asking about viewability and the audience selection and all the different things that have been more kind of in the shadows and in the corners with experts and specialists, which is sort of a dirty word. They're now becoming more conversational on that and recognizing the importance. And it can't be done in a silo. We need everyone, not even just marketing, our sales partners, our supply chain partners, our agencies, to be all thinking this way. And that's really the heavy lift. And I think the special sauce in this is it's not, I've gone out and hired phenomenal people. Awesome. But you can't do this in isolation. It has to be done in partnership.
Yeah. And in partnership, the topic of leadership comes to my mind because when speaking with you and then Kate, I found it really interesting that these two organizations are doing something unique, which is the org chart or the reporting structure. Yep. She eventually feeds into about 50-50 CMO, CCO. You feed into something very unique, and let's talk about that real quick.
Sure. So I report to our head of technology. I do not report to our marketing team. Now it's the commercial half of his body, so I'm not in the IT organization, but it really brings an interesting perspective, and it's really that combination of technology and marketing where we're seeing. That's why we're here. Literally, that's the whole day today. But that's where we're going, is really thinking about these things as not separate entities, but how do we bring together the amazing technology resources and thinking and processes together with marketing. And it's been an interesting experience, to be honest with you. He asks very different questions than some of my former bosses in a really good way. And I think that brings more diversity of thought and brings together, hey, have we thought about it this way, which maybe a traditional marketer wouldn't have asked that question.
Yeah, you worded it a little bit better, just in the sense of how I remembered it when we were talking, where you said, well, it's good that he's not a traditional marketer. And then,
off the record.
Yeah, off the record, but now on the record, noted. So we've heard this theme come up a couple of times. We have Jordy earlier. I liked how was mentioned, marketers should develop strong analytical skills to better develop business cases. And Chris mentioned that just now with Bloomberg News as well. And you highlighted that being in this more technical, non-marketer, traditional marketer position with a team that you're reporting into and that you're building out has really helped you be a little bit more objective.
Yeah, I think the interesting pivot that's really been injected into our team and then in turn into the broader organization is being completely outcomes focused. And that's really what the technology world is focused on. It's less about the launch. We, oftentimes in marketing, myself included, you get excited about the launch because it's exciting, it's emotional. But did you sell anything? Did it do anything? Did you get the data? Is the data any good? Whatever your goal is. And it brings that really objective, outcomes-focused obsession to our team, which is really, it changes the conversation. And I think it helps, prioritization is a problem for literally everybody. And it really helps with that. If I can say, this isn't going to drive the outcome we want, it makes it a whole lot easier to say, don't do it. So it's good that it pushes us in different ways, but I think it also helps our teams from a just capacity perspective. It's almost counterintuitive, but being objectives focused and outcomes focused can really be freeing in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and in order to reach those objectives, we can talk about technology all day long, right? Yet something I really appreciated you kept bringing up was the human element, the human aspect. How are you and Johnson & Johnson approaching the human element, dare I say, in preparation for the technology?
Yeah, it takes people. I think that's what a lot of companies, ours included, hadn't always assumed. And oftentimes you see digital transformation show up as a line item in your goals and objectives. But that's sort of like my analogy for you. We love analogies, as it turns out. Yes. It's like starting a hockey team without figuring out who knows how to ice skate. So you can say we're going to do all this stuff, but if you don't have the right people in place or enough people to focus and really go deep on these things, it's going to be kind of for naught. You're probably going to have a 1-year license. You're not going to renew, all the things that I'm sure like painfully and, too soon for a lot of the, folks here listening, but that's the reality. We needed to really invest in people and make sure we had the right people and enough people in place to actually do the work and really, drive these either technologies or capabilities that we are looking to stand up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm reminded of a math class I took long ago, and the teacher started off saying most people are bad at math, not because they should be bad at math. Their perception of math at the onset blocks them from ever learning it. And that's very much like AI. If you could sit on the Zooms when I start to talk about AI and marketers' eyes will glaze over and I say, shoot, that's someone that doesn't know AI. If they knew it, they would be stoked. And then I love how it sounds like you are taking that initiative to go and retool the people, to educate them, to get them excited about tech, and then marry the tech with the humans.
Yeah, I mean, you have to understand the why. And I think that's, with sharing relevant innovations in the marketplace through a newsletter or just my day-to-day interactions with my partners and team, it really all starts with, what are we trying to accomplish here? Why is this going to help you? It's not that complex sometimes, but I think we overcomplicate it. So really basing ourselves in, what's this going to help us do? It's going to help us make decisions faster. It's going to help us, look across more, elements than we could otherwise or with our resources. People understand that. And I think that's what you have to start with. And then from there, you can get into the discussion of the technology, but you can't just, you can't skip this step.
Yeah. Well, let's not skip the step of the people and go back to what you shared, which was kind of Johnson & Johnson. Maybe a lot of companies act this way, which is the 60s mentality, right? The one big idea. And then start from there and then go to where you're at now.
Yeah. So, I mean, like a lot of CPGs, and someone was mentioning this earlier, I think it was with the Bayer discussion, like we don't sell directly for 99 or whatever % of our sales. We put our products on a truck that goes to Arkansas and Minneapolis. We put advertising on the air. We light prayer candles, and we hope people buy it. 6 months later, we'll get MTA results, and then we can adapt to that, which is great and awesome and helpful. But the mentality is a little bit more that big bang campaign focused. You do one thing and then see what happens, rinse, repeat year after year. What we're trying to evolve to is to emulate more of what we see in the performance marketing space. We're limited. We do not have the same data that our DTC, friends have all the time because we're not selling directly. We don't own all the data. But where we can have, data reads, where we can have partnerships either with retail media networks where we get signals, or maybe there's some leading indicators that we can figure out. What we've done is build a team that can really act at the speed of learning. And instead of, okay, we're going to put something in market, we'll see the MTA in 6 months, and then we'll talk about it, maybe we'll implement it, maybe we won't. We have to break that cycle, and that's really what our team's really focused on is, hey, we figured this out. We see that this audience isn't, it could be even media delivery. Like it's not serving as we expected, or, the Facebook algorithm has prioritized this, and now we're not talking to this high-value audience or this creative that we really like, whatever the case may be. Getting into more of an always-on, hands-on approach. Always on doesn't mean you do something all the time. Statistical significance and where and all these things are still a thing that we live with. Our industry has longer purchase cycles. I don't sell Skittles. People are buying our products every 3 to 6 months, maybe, not every week. So, we can't act on a weekly basis necessarily, but we need to be ready to as we learn and as we evolve, or as things come up in the marketplace that aren't even data-driven. If there's a cultural event, how can we evolve? So it's really changing to being more hands-on, more leaned in, and then creating more performance marketers versus really project managers. That's really what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and you're achieving it. I loved how you said optimizing at the speed of learning. And, we're not going to touch on singularity and if and when it's going to happen yet. That was really neat how you said that, because if you truly train them and then you power them with culture and all that, but then the technology, now that feedback loop, the data feedback loop, and to be able to analyze, ingest, and then deploy, you're compressing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the way to think about it, because the easy shorthand for that is real time, which just isn't a thing really in a lot of our cases, especially for our large reach media campaigns. I'm not optimizing, large 30, 40 million person, 12-week flights of, whatever. We're not doing that because it doesn't make any sense. But at the speed of learning, like whenever it makes sense, depending on the channel, search can be daily and weekly. Retail search can be real time because you see the response. It just depends on the channel, but being ready to act as we learn is really what we're trying to strive for.
Excellent. Now, thinking of the theme here, how are you and your team working towards personalization at scale?
Well, I mean, it starts with the insight, like what are we trying to solve for, I guess, and then do you need the personalization at scale? But I think there are different examples where we've deployed it. So it can come in forms of creative optimization and, across different audiences. That's a pretty standard way we've been doing it across our, programmatic buys and things like that, by audience, by creative, kind of these big matrices of decision trees and whatnot. But also, at scale can mean just being relevant in a way that could mean something to an individual, but everyone's experiencing that. We saw that in the baby category when I worked on that business, when we knew that every expectant parent was dealing with COVID and they did not care about shampoo. So how do we personalize their experience? We talk about, what to expect when you go to the hospital. Can your partner show up in the delivery room? Things like that. That's, it's not a technology sort of thing that might be heresy to say today, but to me, that's personalization too, because that's really talking to your consumer and being consumer centric. But also in the baby category, how do we scale that? We know that every parent's different, and anyone that has kids here knows that the experience you have is expecting, newborn, toddler, and older kid is vastly different. So you can't talk to them the same way. So we've employed website personalization across our baby websites to really customize that experience, knowing expectant parents might be really information hungry, so let's prioritize content, and then people with older kids might just want to find where they can buy product quickly and have it shipped to their door. Whatever they're looking for is really what we're trying to deliver.
Excellent. And this probably feeds into this one, is why do you feel AI, innovation, and personalization are crucial?
I think it's because that's what our consumers are trained to expect. I don't compete with other CPGs, I compete with everyone. I'm competing for, the expectations are being set by Netflix and Uber and Spotify and, everybody that has a great personalized experience. That's what consumers have come to expect. People have been trained to be able to type basically anything into a Google search bar and get an answer. So if I can't deliver a good, personalized, relevant experience to them quickly, easily, I'm going to fall short. So yeah, we compete against other CPGs, but their life experience is setting different expectations for them, and that's really what we're competing with.
Great. And when I think about competition, then I think, hey, winning, and then I think, what's next? And so when you look at your role and what you're able to see, and you're looking into the future, what's getting you excited?
I think it's that we're accelerating this, that we're doing more of it. So how do we pull more into this construct? How do we get more people who should be talking together, who should be working together, essentially around the same table? So we're evolving to bringing in more of our technology resources into this environment. So our website, CRM, our apps closer in with our media, because that experience is more of a lifetime value sort of experience that can feed into our acquisition activities over on the media side. These teams should be working together. Today they're not, by and large. So that's really, this escalation and really bringing these together is our next step. And really it's happened super fast. I mean, like I said earlier, I am actively trying to obsolete myself because we need to move on to that next step. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be something for me or my team to do. It's the next thing. We've set this foundation. We've created a lot of these constructs. Now, how do we take it to the next level and the next level? That's what I'm excited for, is the real, lean in and acceleration of this type of work that we're doing.
Cool. I think at this time of the day, you deserve a lob. Just a nice little easy one here. Yeah. So, what's your favorite Johnson & Johnson product?
So many to choose from. We make a lot of phenomenal products. I think right now, so I'm going on vacation in a little over a week. Neutrogena Sunscreen is my favorite Johnson & Johnson product right now. In general, it's a phenomenal product. Sun safety is incredibly important. I'm very fair-skinned, so I'm going to Florida, so I am packing a lot of sunscreen with me. But it's something we're passionate about. It's a category that's incredibly important. Skin cancer is the most preventable form of cancer. In case you didn't know, 90% of it is preventable. So it's something that, yes, we make a product, but the healthcare aspect of it is so important. That mission is incredibly important. We actually created a documentary about sun safety and skin cancer and the dangers of it that is hopefully going to win something at Cannes. We'll see. Check back in a couple weeks. But it's a area that it's a great product, but there's an amazing mission behind it. So whatever you use sunscreen, wear a hat, please be safe. But that's what I'm excited about to put in my suitcase in about a week and a half.
Yes. And I love how you also said, when I shared maybe when I shared just how I perceive Johnson & Johnson, and you really led with, Stephen, we're a science company. In fact, I've got a lab that I could go walk through right now by your office, right?
100%. Yes. We have I work with scientists. I'm meeting with one tomorrow. That is core to who we are. So it makes marketing a lot easier when you sell great products. That makes my job way easier. But yeah, that's who we are at our core. That's kind of what we lead with, essentially, is we don't sell it if it's not science-backed. So that's who we are.
Then before we open up for the AMA section, is applying your scientific side, how would you counsel or give advice to someone getting started out now on this journey?
I alluded to it earlier, but I would say start with your business problem. Start with the foundation.
Hypothesis?
Or
now we got to go right to the problem?
We can have a hypothesis, but as you're working through, set it up as what are we trying to solve for? We think this is the way to do it. Here's what it's going to deliver for us, and then measure your results. We measure our results in a lot of different ways, and it's complex. It's cost savings, it's cost avoidance, it's performance improvement, it's learning and morale and all the different things. But I think you start from that foundation of what are we trying to solve for? Don't look to create solutions looking for problems. Figure out what your problem is first, and then it's a lot easier to get the rest of the organization to come along, because I said it earlier, you cannot do this in isolation. It has to be in partnership with a broader organization.
And then what's going to happen when you do work yourself into obsolescence? No.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
You're doing amazing. And let's. In spirit of that, any questions?
We have one or two questions.
Two. We need two.
We have two. Yes. Go ahead.
So there's two out here.
Make them good.
All right.
I'll be quick. I'm curious. You talked a lot about education within your organization. What about educating the retailers, and is there resistance in terms of your data insights versus their data insights?
We have aligned priorities here. They are looking to evolve, and it's a great question. I literally talked about it last week with one of our customer teams. They're looking for that education because they're building retail media networks. If we win by selling through their networks, we all win, because we sell it through Target or Walmart or wherever, and we're selling our products. So we have aligned priorities there. It's a high margin business for them, so it's definitely something that they want to learn. But there's a huge appetite from our customer partners to learn here, because they, actions speak here. They see this as the future. They're investing enormous amounts of money into their media practices, measurement practices, things like that. And there's absolutely a partnership and an education there, because they're newer at it. So definitely a two-way street there.
Last question.
I'm Jeremy. Curious, heard a lot about education, and curious about, it was interesting about the fact that you were reporting back to your head of technology. I found that a lot of times, often, it gets lost in translation when you're talking about how you communicate success to ops or finance. So it's almost inversed at your company. So I'm wondering if the internal education process for how you're innovating and the success around that innovation is challenging to get the rest of the org on board with what you're doing. And if so, how do you communicate that success to the other parts?
I spend a lot of my time talking to other parts of the organization and educating on what we're doing, why it's important. I wouldn't say there's resistance in it. I think it's a matter of making sure people understand it, though, because a lot of times people don't know what they don't know. If it's a new, these jobs are all new. They did not exist a year ago. So for no fault of their own, everyone's learning. I'm learning too. I am the first to admit I don't have all the answers, and we sort of lead with that of I may not know, but we'll figure it out together. And I think that helps also to disarm some of these conversations, to not act like I know everything. I certainly don't. At all. So, but it's staying focused on what we're playing for and not getting caught up in hype. I think it's like, how are we advancing, and how does this ladder up to our operating plan goals? Really speaking the same language helps a lot, and not getting too magical with it. Like, we're talking about hard numbers too, and like actual dollar savings or improvements. So we focus on the real metrics as much as some of the exciting, innovative stuff. But like, it's got to make dollars and cents at the end of the day.
Thank you, gentlemen. Very good.